Okay, I'll let Tananarive in, and then I will. Come on, there she is. Oops, no, that's Stephen Bauer.
I'm co-host.
Okay, okay, she's co-host, and welcome to Firedance Life Writing Live on May 23rd, 2025. I am your genial host, Stephen Barnes, and let's have Tananarive. Are you ready to come on camera?
Give me 20 seconds.
Okay, she needs 20 seconds. So we are doing something a little different today, and by streaming this directly to YouTube, I don't have to take up recording space on my computer, which I like. And welcome everybody. And Tanari, if you have anything, you're going to be here. You believe you're going to be here throughout the entire
I'll be here at my
time, right?
normal amount of time. I usually stay for an hour or more.
Hmm.
There'll be a couple of household distractions. I'm in and out, but good to see everybody here. First timers, be sure to give us a shout out in chat, but I don't see any first timers. I see
Nope, I don't.
veterans.
We have nothing but veterans, and it's a smaller group today. That's okay. So let's just kind of get started by unmuting yourselves and just everybody kind of say hello so we can kind of
Shay.
Happy Friday,
Hello.
everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Hello,
Always good to see people.
always
Welcome.
good
hello
to see people.
everyone. Memorial Day love to you.
All the
Yeah,
pretty
that's
ones.
right. That's exactly right. And on Memorial Day, I think it's really important to, not just remember the sacrifices, also to remember that that dance of the yin and yang energies, the male and female energies, is really critical. And if you want to know why men are often shut down emotionally and have problems, it's because they were the ones that reproductive biology, reproductive psychology kind of suggested you're the ones who are going to have to go out and watch the walls. You're going to go off and fight. And fighting people is a destructive process to your heart. Killing people is a destructive process. To remember the costs of the people who did these things and how they sometimes brought that home and unfortunately brought it home to their families. You have alcoholism and, emotional inflexibility and other things that men and women take terrible damage as they go through life trying to create safety for the children that they love and the grandchildren who they need to keep the world going. So on these days, I think that it's a good idea to ask questions about how you can be more compassionate and understanding, not just appreciate the sacrifice, but understand some things about what it cost. What is that? It's not just the dead, and it's not just the physical wounds, and it's not just the people who went to war any more than only women who have had children are confined by the strictures that society put on femininity. It's trying to step back from that process of what it is to be a human being and understand how we got here so that we can find a way forward. If we can kind of forgive each other and understand each other and have empathy. Empathy isn't just feeling emotional, feeling a positive emotion about someone. It's understanding them. And if you start with the assumption of equality and then you look at various dysfunctional patterns, in my mind, you can bet that there were things that happened along the way that created them. Anyway, what I wanted to do today, I mean, I always like to do this, is to kind of set out a pattern of thought for us to consider. And today, that pattern of thought, okay, good. Let me do this, move this up, and make this larger. I'm very casual about trying to create my graphics. I mean, I could spend more time doing it, but then I have less time to work on the things that are important to me. So you're gonna have to put up with me. Okay,
Can I ask you a question, Steve?
of course you can.
Years ago, I'm talking probably late 90s, when you first put out some of your web stuff about the life writing technique,
Yes.
you had this graphic of a warrior that was like a samurai warrior with two two swords. Where did you get that? Because that was brilliant.
Well, it was a little, I don't know exactly where I got it, but it was almost certainly a graphic that represented Musashi Miyamoto.
That's what it
Almost
looked like.
certainly. Yeah, I'm gonna guess that it was in one of the translations, one of the books that I had that was translating Musashi, and that would be the most likely point of origin for that.
Okay, sorry to interrupt.
No, no problem at all. All right, so I just noticed that a lot of the different things that I'm talking about break down into triplets. And I've talked about this before. Now, I didn't put this on here, but one reason might conceivably be that a triangle is a stable base. It's just, if it's two, that's a ladder and you have to lean it against something. But three is a stool. There's actually got some stability there. And furthermore, you might even look at what the Sufis say about the three ways. You need three choices: affirming, denying, and reconciling. That if you have three choices, you have enough flexibility to feel some freedom. I don't know. But I do know that if I look at the three gates, is it true? Is it kind? Is it useful? If I look at the three centers, the belly brain, the heart center, the head center, look at the concept of the meaning of life, to escape suffering, embrace joy, be of service. If I look at modeling, belief systems, middle syntax, use of physiology, and ultimately the thing that kind of got me into this today was thinking about the RPM system, to think about the what and then the why and only then the how. That taking a slight shift there, because I don't know whether or not there is a specific reason or something that should be learned from, try to have three, maybe not. I want to take a look at that. But in terms of the RPM system, what we have here is a way of looking at executive function. An executive function would be things like time binding, being able to look at a full event, a project, a challenge, and break it down into component pieces until you get pieces that are small enough to work on today and this week, and then be able to constantly see where these small pieces fit into the larger pattern, which fits into your life plan, your why, the ultimate pleasures, hopefully, that, ideally you tie it into the meaning of life. You doing anything you do to escape suffering, embrace joy, or be of service, or be of service. One of the things that is interesting about this is that the way I wrote it there, how, what, why, or from why to what to how. If you were to imagine a rocket, the why is the fire, the fuel. It's your emotion is the fuel. The what is the specific payload, maybe, that you're trying to to get someplace, and the how might be instructions that your rocket is executing on a moment by moment basis. But to think that you don't construct it in the same order that you use it has kind of interested me. It's like, why is that? It makes, I think that if you can wrap your mind around why you have to identify the what you need to accomplish, and then after you've clarified that, your reasons why, you come up with so many reasons that you're like vibrating with energy to do it. And there's nothing that I do in my life that I can't tie into everything else that I'm doing. Specifically, anything that I'm doing, I can tell you why this benefits me physically, why it benefits my family, and why it helped me make money. Even if sometimes the answer is simply because I'm having fun and dumping stress. But there's always a reason. People who kind of get up in the morning, they don't have any purpose, and they're saying, why am I going to go to work? Well, I got to pay these lousy bills. That's one attitude. No matter what, you got to you got to go to work, right? To pay the bills. So you might, if you can't get out of it, get into it, you might as well find a reason to go to work that actually is fun or actually is meaningful to you. I'm doing this so I can have that vacation in Costa Rica. I'm doing this to protect my family. I'm doing this because I want to learn this job so I can start my own business using these skills. Oh, I'm paying bills, so I have a place where I can do these things that I love to do, the roof over my head, food on my table. What a blessing. I've got a job. Your why matters. And if you've got enough why, the how will automatically present itself. So the point is that most people start with why. They start with a to-do list. They got all these things they have to do. Why? If you understand why you have to do it and what it is that you want to get done, you don't have to do everything on your list. You just have to do enough to get your what that takes care of your why. So this is in some ways the most important piece that, and this is not the way I've always thought, not specifically. This is something I learned from Tony Robbins, as a matter of fact. But I've always known my what, and I've always known why. And then it was just a matter of trying to figure out the how. Those things have always been connected for me. And you will find that on anyone who accomplishes things, they're either unconsciously or consciously going to go through steps like this. So if I do this, then I've got time binding and I've got prioritizing. I've got ways to break things down, because your hows each become a new what. And if it's not small enough to be able to do it today, then you create a series of new hows for that. And you keep breaking it down and breaking it down until you have smaller hows, tiny house, little atomic house that lead to bigger ones that eventually lead to major ones, which are the 3, 4, 5 major pieces that you need to do to accomplish your what. But no matter what, every day, everything you need to do, there should be a why for it. There should be significance in it. There should be meaning in every moment of your life, because your time, in many ways, is all you have. If it's not sacred to you, then as far as I can see, nothing can be sacred to you, because that's the currency of your life. So you're trading a piece of your life for everything that you do. If I was to ask myself, why do I do this? Why do I do this every week? Take that time out of my schedule and be with you guys. Physically, it reminds me of what it is that I need to be in the world. It's reminding me of the principles that are driving me, and those principles include being healthy between the three centers. So, my every day I have to do certain things physically to prepare myself to do this, and that's tied in with my overall goals, right? Emotionally, well, clearly, I have a lot of emotional connection to doing this. It's very meaningful to me, and you guys become like family and friends. And it also enables me to, once again, clarify who I am, so that if I'm dealing with a problem with my family, or, dealing with an issue that my son has, if he comes to me with something, I've worked on my clarity, so that I can be, during that moment when he is open, I have something very specific to say. Okay, I have a limited amount of time with him. It's shorter now than it ever was. And I have to be sure that every interaction, contains value on a number of different levels, ideally. In terms of money making, this ties in with the life right. It ties in with the courses that we sell. It also ties in with, once again, getting clear on who I am affects my work, affects my writing. What I have to offer the world in my writing is not just my skills as a writer, it's my perception of what human beings are and what the world is. Why? Characterization is nothing more than taking a kind of perfect person and then wounding them, and then giving them an opportunity to fix that wound. So those are the ways. And you could ask me anything about any aspect of my life, and I could do that. I always know my why. I try to know my what. What is it I want? Ultimately, it's to be happy, to be healthy, happy, successful. And the how are the various things that I do every day. So breaking that down, what is it you're trying to accomplish? Working backwards from the meaning of life. Everything you do should be about escaping suffering, embracing joy, in other words, moving away from pain toward pleasure, or once you have achieved a sense of balance, helping other people to, being that, a bodhisattva energy. I have achieved a particular thing. I enjoy sharing this with others. It doesn't have to be a lot that is complicated. The other thing I wanted to say is that I made a comment about modeling today, that the people who you want to model are people who are better than you at something that you care about. Really kind of simple as that. And it doesn't mean that they have to be making more money than you. You can model some particular thing. One of your sub businesses could be, you could have a gigantic multinational corporation. One tiny little branch of that is ice cream. You go to an ice cream parlor and they have a fantastic ice cream. You could model the way they make that. It doesn't have to, they could make a fraction of how much you make overall, but make something that is really good. And how did you do that? One of the mistakes that people make is thinking that the person you're modeling has to be better at everything. No. They can be better at some specific thing that you want. But I think that you want to separate modeling a skill from whether or not you like somebody or even respect them in general. It can't just be that you like them. It can't just be that you respect them as a being. Do they have specific skills that you're looking for? Do they have a map to your destination? They can have 1,000 other maps, but if you don't want to go there, it doesn't make any difference. If they offer you a recipe, ask to taste their soup. If you can't see how they got that result, I suggest that you not model them, you not follow them. You might miss some very interesting people. And you might miss some very interesting ideas. It's absolutely possible. But what I promise you is that you will miss 10 times as many nightmares, because anybody can talk a good game. And everybody is just smart enough to con themselves. So people will con you into believing that they have an answer, maybe sometimes because they've conned themselves. But if they haven't gotten the result, then I beg you, be careful. All right, so that was just kind of what I wanted to put out there today. And to remove the spotlight and just kind of say, who's raising their hand? Who would like to take either what we have been talking about or concerns that you have or experiences that you've had over the last week since the last time you spoke? I'm going to cut off some other sounds that things are making here. Okay. And who's going to raise their hand? Anybody going to raise their hand? So that's very interesting, because somebody was worried that they didn't get called on last week, but they're not raising their hand right now. Isn't that interesting? You have to be willing to ask for what you want and gain clarity. So how fascinating. Won't raise their hand. Suzanne, let's see what's up with you today. Hello.
Well, hi, how are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you. How are you?
I am doing fine. Just
Good, good,
juggling
good.
projects.
Yeah, so the using the RPM system, it would be the general thing is you want to be happy, and healthy.
hmm
Okay, you want this in all three arenas of your life. Well, what we kind of use four arenas. It's like body, heart, money, and art. So, in what arenas are these projects? In money or art or both or
Art.
something else? Okay, they're all art projects. So you're doing four different art projects. Has your experience in the past suggested that you can juggle four projects with no problem?
Actually, no, I need to cut this down to two. I just need to decide which two I'm
Okay,
going
so,
to
so I would.
prioritize.
What is the most important thing? Having fun, making money, learning a skill. What's the most important value on the table here?
Ah, let me think about that for a minute.
Mhm.
What I'm thinking is that I have a long-term art project that I want to be done with by next year so I can pitch it.
Okay.
Then I have short-term projects that I want to be able to go ahead and submit as short stories.
Okay. So,
So,
which of the short stories is closest to being finished? Because it's critical to practice to
mhm,
strengthen the muscle of completion and
mhm.
clarity. So, which of these projects is closer to complete, closest to completion?
Well, of the short stories, I
First.
have one that I just finished and I have one that I just started.
Okay, so the one that you just finished, you need to what, rewrite it
Yeah.
and edit it and get it out
Yeah.
so that you can
Hmm.
keep on. Okay, so that's the one you focus on. Okay,
Okay.
you focus on that one, unless you have a goal of finishing a story a month, and it's going to take longer than a month to get it done. In which case, you want to work on something that's really short, so that you can get it done, by the end of the month, if possible. If you want to, if you want to do that, you might decide, and you have the right to decide as a grown-ass woman, that this story is going to take more than a month, and you don't need that particular stricture. You can trust yourself for that. We create safety rails. You do a sentence a day. You submit one story a month. Those are safety rails. As long as you stay within those, you'll get the result. But you might say, I've got this long-term project. I've got this shorter term project. I want to work on that. So, do you need to finish a story a month to feel like you're on track, or can you spend more time with that story?
I think I can probably finish that story in a month.
Okay,
Um,
then you do that, and because it
yeah.
will have. Tananarive is kind of leaning forward. I got the feeling that you might want to say something about this.
Oh, let me unmute myself.
You're unmuted. You're fine.
Just in terms of prioritizing time and energy for completing a project. Is that where?
Yeah.
Yeah, whether it's like she's got four different projects that she wants to decide, she wants to cut down to maybe two projects that
Okay.
she can work on. You can weigh in on whether or not she should cut it down or how she can make those decisions.
I think someone might be at the door, so forgive me if I have to cut this short. But you mentioned you had just started a story.
Yeah.
Are you very excited about it?
I get excited at the beginning of all my projects.
Right. So that
But
might be a
yeah.
hint that you need to work
Yeah.
on completion, like Steve was saying earlier.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Um, Hold on one second. Let me just make sure no one's at the door. Right.
Go. So here's the whole thing. Looking back over your life and looking back at your writing specifically, you need to start identifying what are the places where I break the chain. Okay,
Hmm.
it might be starting, it might be finishing, it might be polishing, it might be submitting, it might be resubmitting. You look at that chain. What is the chain that you have to have every single link in place, you know, and then you identify, like we've offered you a 6-step process. You write a sentence a day, you write 1 to 4 short stories a month, you finish at least one story a month, you do not rewrite what you finished, except to editorial requests. You read 10 times as much as you write, and you repeat this process 100 times. Other people will have other suggestions, and some of those suggestions are fantastic. All we can say is, this works. There will be other things that work too. If you want to use this, then you look at which of those links has been broken for you, or which is the link that is the weakest for you. So what would you say was the weakest link for you?
The weakest link for me is submission.
There
I
you
can
go.
get done. I can polish. I can get all that. I have a hard time finding what niche I want to submit to.
Okay, so then the question would be, what are you reading? You have to read
I'm
10
reading
times as many.
anthologies mostly.
Okay,
And
so who are the editors who are doing those anthologies? Do they do more
mhm,
anthologies? So
mhm,
so you can submit them by finding out who those editors are and send query
mhm.
letters to them. They
Okay.
might say, "Listen, I'm not doing an anthology, or this is the wrong way to do it." But you might find somebody who thinks this is a go-getter. This is somebody who reminds me of me. In the same way that marketing is a matter of letting people see that you had the same journey that they want to go on. You bought a car too, and this is how you made your decision. And so we here at this used car dealer are prepared to be your allies in the process of getting you a car. I've had, that that sense that, oh, this person is like me. It works in terms of choosing a mentor, and it also works in terms of choosing a mentee, in terms of choosing, I'd like to see a story from this person. So
Mhm.
that is one of the approaches. That the whole thing of submission and resubmission is not just about selling your stories. It's about learning the business, learning the process, learning how to deal with your fear. You look at any link in that chain and focus, you upgrade that link until some other link is the weakest, and then you focus there, and you just keep upgrading. Tananarive, you're back. So
I co-sign everything he just said, even though I don't know what it was. But I do think where we left it was submission, perhaps. I'm getting the vibe that it's about submission. So yeah, exercising that muscle is very important. If you get excited about a project in the beginning, you can consider that sort of a C project, maybe that you write for fun. But anything else that isn't as much fun because it's at a stage that just frankly isn't as much fun for you as a writer, like
Mhm.
fixing the grammar and the typos and sending it out and all that. That's what you want to exercise.
and part
Mhm.
of what she's saying there, I believe, is that you can't trust enthusiasm.
Right.
Mhm.
You can't
Trust the
trust your sense of
process.
fun. That's
Trust
right.
the process.
Trust your process. With every goal you have, you model people to understand their process. Then you get on that road. And this is the gigantic thing that people miss. They talk about, I wish I could do, I wish I could have a black belt, Steve. I wish I could publish books. I wish I could, but they're not willing to be on a process. They're not willing to do the things. And so let's say I would do that except that I'm scared. Oh, okay. Then you learn how to deal with fear. I do that except I don't have enough energy. Okay, what are you eating? How much rest are you getting? How much water are you drinking? I do that except I don't have support. Okay, well, how can you have more internal support so you don't need those? Or how could you negotiate with them to get support? You see what I'm saying? No matter what your problem is, if anyone else has ever solved it, look for the process that they used and make the assumption that people who seem more talented than you just have their process at unconscious competence. They don't even think about the fact that they do it anymore. Babies have to think about the fact that they walk, but by the time you're dancing, you've forgotten how you learned how to walk.
I mean, imagine
And
what an advantage it is. Every time you finish a short story, you have a process you go through. You might have one beta reader you trust who gives you notes. You incorporate those notes. You get it in the mail within 24 hours. That's just what you do. That's just how you roll with
that's
it.
right. It's just how you
Yeah.
roll. And when it comes back, you send it back out. You
Right. Send it
design
back out.
you design your process. We can give you the kind of over the counter, aspirin medication for how to do these things, but there's and there are some generic flu medications too. But by the time you're looking into the arts and looking for your unique expression, what you have to do is take our generalized advice and convert it to your specific medicine. You have to write a prescription. I need to do this. What do I need to do when I wake up in the morning? Okay, I need to kind of center myself so I can do these things and still have time to write. When do I need to write? Maybe I need to write first thing in the day. Maybe I can write last thing in the day. Maybe I write on my lunch hour. You have to
Mhm.
watch your results because what you're looking for, what is it that enables me to write a sentence a day, write 4 short stories a month, finish, one, and submit one. That's the chain. Each one of those links we could give a week's lecture on. Okay. But all we can do here is to give you the aspirin sort of actually it's more like vitamins. We give you vitamins that allow you to detect the missing pieces, the basic building blocks. If you have a vitamin deficiency, it can cause these health problems. If you have a deficiency in believing in yourself, loving yourself, time management, understanding how to brainstorm ideas, how to deal with insecurity, how to do whatever the link is. And when you find it, don't be afraid. Your attitude has to be, I don't know how to do this yet. I can't do this, but I'll learn. That kind of thing. You might have a deficiency in terms of having a belief system like that. To believe, because people who don't have a belief system, I can't do this yet, they will ignore the areas in which they might have succeeded if only they'd had a different belief system. And they will take the position that, well, nobody can do that, or nobody can do that where I am. I know some brilliant people who believe that racism has made it impossible for them to succeed in life. The trouble is they're taking a truth that oppression on the lines of gender or physical capacities, race, drop the curve. They make it more difficult to do certain things. but it doesn't mean that it's impossible. It means it's harder. It's that thing about you have to work twice as hard to get half as far. Okay. If you look at that, then you say there are people who have accomplished the thing in spite of the problems, and the problems are real. And sometimes those problems are given by people who hate me or would hurt me. But if anyone who started where I started has ever gotten where I want to go, I can too. It's just a belief that I've had since childhood. Okay. Now, in terms of, let's say, being a science fiction writer, there weren't any black science fiction writers that I knew of. I mean, there was Chip Delaney and Octavia Butler, but it took a long time for me to ever encounter them. And they certainly didn't put their faces on the covers of the books. So how did I know?
You would
So
know from the covers.
Yeah, that's right. You wouldn't know from the covers. They put green people on Octavia's books, but not black people. So every little black girl or boy who might have been inspired saw nothing. As far as they knew, there's no place for them at all. And Octavia was strong enough and clear enough to get through that. That's why she rose to the top. She didn't let that stop her. Not most of us don't have that. Most of us need to see somebody else making it. So what could she do? She could look at role models in music and say, oh, okay, this is how they broke in here. In sports, this is how they broke in politics. And study those people. What did they think? They had allies who believed in them. They had rituals that enabled them to get there. So it didn't have to be the specific arena. So all of that is to say, take a look at those 6 steps, look at the weakest link, assume that that weakness tells you something about who you are. Don't be ashamed of the possibility of saying, oh, I've got a wound there. Isn't that interesting? You have to be able to kind of observe yourself without being connected to it.
A lot of people don't like submitting. Submitting means that somebody can reject you. What's,
That's right.
In fact, most of the time, that's exactly what submitting means. So yeah, no wonder. That's why, like, in terms of not following enthusiasm, like, I love to dance and I've incorporated dance into my workout, but I can't just dance when I feel like dancing. Like, if I just dance when I felt like dancing, I would never do it. It's like, oh, today I have to dance. And I don't feel like it, but once the endorphins get going, I will feel like it. So it's about just maybe you put something up on the wall, maybe you give yourself little mini deadlines about when you finish and when you get things in the mail. But whatever it is, create a system and just follow that. And that's what will take you where you want to go for sure.
So publishing has several hows. You have to write, finish what you write, submit it, continually research, etc. Zoom in, submit. Submission is your what you want to submit. The hows would have technical things like knowing where to submit it, knowing what to say in the submission letter, but there will be emotional components. How does it feel? Let's say if rejection is an issue, then ask yourself, what does rejection mean to you? Because if you think rejection means I can't do it or I'm not good enough, then it's obvious why you don't want to submit. A person who thinks all I have to do is submit it 20 times, submit 100 stories, and I'm gonna win, and I want to win.
Oh my God, my 10th rejection came in today. I'm halfway there. That's kind of the attitude. Like, put them up on the wall. That's what I used to do when I first started. Put them up on the wall. Be proud of those, because that means you put yourself out there. And
what did your teacher tell you about that, Tananarive?
Yeah, it was a high school teacher. Wallpaper your wall with rejection slips, she said. Yeah. So I wasn't anywhere near wallpapering my wall when I got my first sale.
That's right. See, so ask yourself, if you know what to do physically, go down, push the button that submits. If you know what to do mentally, write this letter, how to market yourself. Hi, I'm Suzanne Paul. I saw you did this anthology. I have a story about such and such that I would love to send you. And, understand you might have one sentence to say that to catch their interest. It's like, Larry Niven said, the first time I met him, I said, hi, I'm Mr. Niven. My name is Stephen Barnes and I'm a writer. He said, okay, tell me a story. I had one sentence one sentence to catch his interest, and that was, I wrote a story this morning about a compulsive gambler who hawks his pacemaker, and that got his attention. See that reaction you just had? That's the reaction he had. Now I've got his attention. Now he wants to know what I'm going to say next. Okay, so, but that's understanding sales and marketing, right? So, does this make sense to you?
Absolutely.
It's a useful conversation
Absolutely.
for you?
Very
Fantastic.
useful.
Okay, so let's move
Very
on to
useful.
somebody.
Thank you so much.
You betcha.
Hope to help.
All right, so let's go on to whoever is nexty. Okay, and who has their hand up? Somebody have their hand up. Okay, Daniel.
So I don't really know what I want to tell, but I made this trip to South Africa and it changed everything.
Talk to us.
Yes, and maybe when I'm a better writer later, I will write that trip down somehow. So it was a very condensed hero's journey, and
Okay,
I
so
nearly,
let me stop you because this is a very useful conversation, Daniel. What was your goal?
my goal was to find out how I can pursue a career in a different country.
Okay, and
That's a big
specifically
one.
work.
That's
It's gigantic. He's been looking at this for years, really, certainly many months. Okay, so going to South Africa was your how. The what was to create a career working at a game preserve or perhaps other things
Mhm.
in another country. And what was your why? Why did you want to do this, Daniel?
I think I just love wild animals.
Okay, fair enough. Good. Okay, so you went there, and so can you give us a short sense because you felt that there was something that it was going to be valuable for you to share, and I think that we would like to hear what you have to say.
You know, here in Germany, and it's not to say this is a bad country. It could be vice versa. I could have lived in South Africa and went to Germany. But I think it was very important to leave the context of my daily life where there was a lot of repetition and building and gaining money. So I ripped myself out of a context and could recreate myself. And what was very interesting, the movie itself became stronger than my own character. So my old identity had to be ripped in pieces. The problem now, of course, which has to be expected now I'm back to Germany, and I really have to protect the insight and consciousness levels I gained there because I came back to my old world and I have lots of conflicts I didn't have before because my old world is mismatching now because I've seen so much beauty and so much challenges in a different way. And I mean, the country is totally different than Germany. It's not safe. You can get killed on the road. The animals are wild, and I love that. I have a feeling I'm living in the wrong context.
Okay, so allow me to say some things that hopefully will be generative to you. Your perception that moving back to Germany is turning you back into the person you used to be is 100% accurate. That is exactly what happens, which is why people can go to transformational workshops and they go through, epiphanies and so forth. And then the people that you know and the life you created will turn you back into the person who met those people and who created the context. Okay?
Yeah.
Your ego is made up of a lot of things, but remember, everything you've got in your life is the result of your behaviors, which are influenced by your values, your emotional charges, your beliefs. So I told you, I don't want to put your business in the street. I told you that a number of the things we talked about have been the result of being in a particular context that you have created. That if you want to grow, if you want to change, you're going to have to change that context completely. Now, you might be able to do it by moving to another part of Germany or simply moving to another part of the city. You might be able to change enough to keep some of what you've got. But make no mistake, you are right. If you're in a toxic relationship with someone, you suddenly have an epiphany. If you don't get out of that toxic relationship, you'll turn back into who you were. Energy tends to drop unless you specifically raise it. So you're at one of those points where you get to decide who you are. And if who you are is someone who is attempting to discover who you are, that's a perfectly good goal. I want to know who I am. I am an explorer on the level of the soul. Whatever it is, you don't have to have an answer to who you are, especially not one that is placed in words. But you can say, I cannot discover who I am while I'm seeing these people, while I'm dating these women, while I'm hanging out with these guys. I can't be while I'm living in this house. I am trapped. To understand that you're trapped and be able to speak that truth is the beginning of wisdom. You don't even have to know a way out of the trap. All you have to do is wake up to the fact that you're in one. And now you get started. Because if you would spend an hour a day, half hour every day, thinking, how do I get to a completely different context? Within a year, you'd be in that new context. So I would like you to set a goal. It's not today. It's not this week. It's not even this month, but it might be. You want to move to your next level. You are committed to moving to your next level. And what we can do here for you, not on Facebook. I don't have the time to do that for you. We don't have that kind of relationship. But if you bring your concerns here, I can coach you here, because coaching you here is coaching everybody. Okay? And it's also that I want you to escape suffering, embrace joy, and be of service. So one of the first things that you've learned is you surrounded yourself with people and events and contexts that are weighing you down and stopping you from growing. And you cannot, my honest opinion, you cannot stay who you are and be who you need to be. That if you stay where you are sacrificing who you could be. That when you went over there and you saw all these new things, suddenly you had the potential to be anybody. You could be anybody there.
It's amazing. I found so many allies. I'm already planning the next trip, and I have new business connections, and I'm already
Yes.
promoting people and getting clients for them. It's starting. So I'm
Fantastic. See, it sounds to me, you've changed, Daniel.
I keep the dream alive, and I think I became stronger. Now I avoided the topic for long. It's like really being assertive for my dream. So I'm not just protecting myself here in my inner child, I'm protecting a dream. And it's very important, because if the people are like coming here, like they eating at the weight step by step, and I cannot allow that.
That's right. So the way that you do that is by connecting with your survival drive. You've studied martial arts, right?
Yes, I still do. I'm very in it.
Okay. The martial arts are about movements and thoughts and philosophies that enable you to dance with your instructor. If you choose the instructor properly, the instructor should be someone ideally who has both practiced, or his teacher, you have to, how many generations back do you have to go, who both studied the formal context and have used it in a survival context. That's when the rubber meets the road. Okay, so if he's done both of those things, then his job was to raise his students until they could dance with him. You throw, you spar, and in that there is an intangible, invisible communication. This is life. This is life. Okay, and you start vibrating to his tuning fork. Okay, so that's life. Like I've often said, that if you want to get in touch with your survival drive, just try holding your breath until you pass out. Can't do it. That hindbrain part of you that says, breathe, 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 that's your survival drive. Everything less than that.
I had a very nice, a very hard experience. I was diving. I didn't dive for a very long time, scuba diving, and the regulator was not working, so I couldn't breathe underwater. And it was my biggest nightmare, and I went through it. And I survived, but it was like, now I'm very grateful. The crazy thing is I'm super grateful just for breathing.
You do not need, go ahead, Tenerife.
No, I was just agreeing. Breathing is great.
It was.
I thought I would die, and at a certain point, I accepted. Okay, now Daniel, this was your last breath. You will die down here. And the crazy thing is, something took over and brought me back to the surface. It was not me, but it was
so scary. That's my nightmare, Daniel.
Yeah, it was so scary. And then the crazy thing is, because I read a book, once you fall off a horse, you should go straight back on it. And I thought, okay, and I went down back again.
because action is the cure for fear. So let me ask you a question. If you had a goal to immigrate to South Africa, does that idea make you happy?
Not really, because by
Okay,
being there, the dream changed in a beautiful way. I think I want to be a like kind of ambassador between the two countries,
that's fine.
and
So
I love
does it
it.
make
Like,
does it make sense then to say what you need to do is to move out of your current living arrangements and to have some sort of a business where you are connecting Germany and South Africa in some way that you don't need to figure out right now? There's just
yeah, I think it will
something,
be
there's something
spiritual
there.
tourism.
Does that make sense?
It will be spiritual nature tourism, something like that. And it feels
Yeah, but
just
see, the thing
perfect.
is that
Yeah.
if I were then to say, you can find examples of people who do that, who do adventure tours. So you could
Hmm.
create a connection with some safari company to get special rates to bring people over there and take them on a journey. You have
Yeah,
done that
I've done two of
with other
them.
things. Yes.
One Zulu, and one from the Western Cape, and they are also doing tours in Botswana. So I have two contacts, and it's very interesting.
Yes.
So it's
That's actually a business.
Mhm.
You're actually talking about a business there. You'd simply have to figure out how good would I have to be, which means, there are two things to focus on there. One is getting good at the thing, and the other is learning how to market the thing. Okay? Two
Yeah,
completely
and
different things. They're not the same.
absolutely.
So you can work on either one of them and work on both of them.
I mean, for me, the next thing is, I think it could be an emotional block that I really can, that I allow myself to earn money with what I love now. Because there's a block like, oh, Daniel, this is great. It's your passion, it's your dream, but you will not earn money with it. So I'm having a missing link. So I still think I have to work something where I suffer and my dream is in vacation or
Okay.
whatever,
S-
but I never
So,
earned money with something I really loved so far.
so here's what you're going to have to do.
Yes.
Every single day, you're going to read your goals morning and night and make sure you do your breathing because it's going to bring up stress. That you
Yeah.
want to make money doing something that you love that benefits the world.
Yeah, and it does. And
That's
it
right.
does.
That's right. So you're looking at all of the voices in your head that have made you, and I'm going to say this straight out, settle for trivial sexual relationships with women that you are not actually going to bond with. That is trivial bullshit. Sex is easy. Love between responsible adult human beings is hard. Okay? So if you're going to be engaged in sexuality, you have wasted a lot of your sexual energy chasing after women or being with them when what you should have been doing is building your nest. So if your attitude now is, I'm going to build my nest, I'm going to take that energy, I'm going to chase my dream, and I'm going to create, I'm going to sustain myself doing something that I love that benefits the world. Write these things down and gain clarity. Then what you can do is come back here and share your statement or get onto the liferight.com. That's the easiest thing. If you will publish your goal statement on liferight.com and ask for my comment, I can then correct you there. I can coach you there. Okay, as long as I'm coaching you in public, because that enables me to, with a single action, help 100 people. If I'm doing that, then and I am willing to help you with this for a couple of reasons. One is that we've known each other for a while, and you got under my skin. I actually care about what's happening with you in a way that you're not a stranger in that sense. You're not my student in that way. You're not my friend in that way, but you're not a stranger either. And you have mentioned so many times that you want to do something that helps people. You want to share something with people, but then you run into your imposter syndrome. If I don't have my life is so messed up. What do I have to share? And then you have the voice in your head saying, no, you have to work hard. You have to, earn by the sweat of your brow. Forget about having fun. Life is pain. Whatever that stuff is, you need to bring those things up. So I don't have a 6-step process for you in the same way that I have for writing, because I have real clarity, having published over 4 million words. But I can tell you that Think and Grow Rich is a fantastic pattern. So if you know you want to do it, then the first step is to deal with your belief that you can. And right now, at this moment, you believe that you can, but you will lose that. So if you know, because now look at the hero's journey, dark night of the soul. As you keep moving through this pattern, you will run into all your fear and it will try to turn you back into who you were. So you need to
Yeah, but
create a daily ritual A
I
daily
realized
ritual.
back then I thought it's not possible and maybe there's a curse on me or something, but now I know it is possible. So the
Yes.
curse is gone. So, but now there comes a massive responsibility for the dream.
Okay,
And
here's the whole thing. Your every master was once a disaster. your,
thank
your
you, that helps.
obstacle, your obstacle becomes your offering.
Yeah, yeah.
Everybody on this call has gone through the same emotional changes of wanting to do something that is positive and fun and contributing, and then getting hit with all those negative voices. If you can get through this, when you get through this, because if you keep coming here and on to life and you take responsibility, what you do is you try really hard to stay a child. I've seen you do it. You try to make me responsible for what's going on with you. You try to make other people responsible. It's their fault. Give up all of that. You're
Yeah, yeah.
responsible and you have the power to do it. See, if you, the only reason you did that is because you didn't think you had the power to do it. I'm telling you right now, I believe you do. I believe you do. But you're going to go through, the hero's journey says you're going to fall and you're going to fall. That you're going to go through that road of trials. You're going to need to burn through and work through the stuff that has stopped you up until this time. What you want is to create a business that connects Africa and Europe, connects South Africa and Germany, making really good money, doing something that
Yeah.
is of benefit to the world and having fun in the process. See, so if you will write your goals down, then we can coach you on the life writing site, and that will allow us to coach other people. You then have to have the commitment to being a leader. If I help you, you have to promise to help others. I believe that that's exactly what you're doing. So I care about what happens to you. It's not, I would care about you anyway, but I care about what happens to you enough that if I see you popping up on Life Right, I'm going to give you a little extra attention because I'm going to say, okay, if I help him, he's going to help another 100 people.
I mean, it's important if you have that gift, no matter what that gift is, and you don't live it and give it to other people. I mean, one day we are all in a coffin, and it would be a
Yes,
pity to take all the gifts with us.
there you go. See, so now you could create a specialty business in people who are stuck in their lives, and you're going to take them to a completely new place and interact with nature. The survival drive will be found in the way animals act and the way nature acts, that you could actually create a transformative experience. You take them on a shamanic journey. And you do that by taking yourself on a shamanic journey first, noticing the steps of the hero's journey as you go through it, using any other pattern that you've got. I offer people patterns, but I don't expect you to stick within the patterns. I just expect you to understand what these patterns do. And then you can say, yeah, but I've got this other pattern over here. I'd like to add this. I'd like to emphasize that. That's fine. In fact, that's perfect. It's the exact same thing of going from a vitamin to a prescription medication.
Yeah,
You are creating your. Go ahead.
very important was to take the risk. It was very important to take the risk, to risk my old self, and I could have failed, and there was a lot of challenges while the trip. But
Yes.
I normally in Germany I wake up and I'm tired. I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning every day there, and I was not tired.
So
I was
imagine creating an experience that is only for people who've never been there. You find there are a whole world of people like you because you are the world. Okay, that the hero's journey is saying that every human being goes through this. You've had a particular set of challenges. I am honored to have been one of your allies. That's all I am. And I'm that because you can feel that I went through some similar things. So maybe I would have an answer to your analogous situation. That's all that marketing is looking for somebody who's had the same journey or has helped somebody else along the same journey. I'm stuck here and let me find somebody who's and they say, take this medicine. I'm a doctor. You can trust me. Buy this car. You do this, do this exercise. To the degree that you own your shame. And I just created this today. As a matter of fact, let me take a look at what it was I sent out to people just today because the timing is exquisite. That the notion is, and I'm going to put what I did here in chat. So I expect you to take it out of chat and I want you to copy this out of chat. The idea that I sent out to my emails. Oh, this is too long. I see. It's too long for me to do this. Look at the email I sent out today. You're on my email list. But the idea is the 15-minute ritual that turns shame into power, is what it said. Most creators fall short because they edit out their gold. And in this sense, everyone is a creator. You have been avoiding your pain. I'm suggesting that your pain is actually the gift you have to offer the world. As long as you're honest about it. When I was driving, when I was much younger, because I'd been bullied and some things had happened, I had a phobic response to sparring, that I was good at it. I mean, I was really good at it. And if I was in the middle of sparring, great. But waiting to spar, to be chosen to spar, or driving to the school would trigger, I wanted to throw up. It was awful. And no one had ever told me that that was a natural response to preparing to act. So I interpreted it with shame. I took the feeling of fear and I added a belief that it meant something about me that was negative. See, you need that kind of clarity. And I remember driving down the street I was afraid to go back into my school and get my jacket that I'd lost for fear that somebody would ask me to spar with them. It was horrible. I felt like roadkill. I couldn't stop practicing and I couldn't just do it. And I remember I was driving down the street with tears streaming down my face and I prayed. I said, God, will you either take away my urge to practice this stuff or just let me do it? Why am I compelled to do it when it's so hard? And it turns out that on an intuitive level, I knew that it was important for me to do because it was hard. That I was looking for the prescription medication I needed. That by forcing myself to do that, I was having to try to figure out, how do I get myself to be able to do this with joy? And it took me decades of research and therapy and all sorts of stuff until a martial arts instructor set me free by telling me that my problem was not a fear. My problem was lack of clarity, and that I could gain clarity by visualizing a glass tube filled with water with glitter suspended in the water and just wait until the glitter settles to the bottom. It took me about 6 weeks of daily practice, about an hour every time, until I got that glitter to settle to the bottom. And when it did, I saw that the fear I'd been experiencing was not the problem. My problem was that I thought the fear meant something, that it didn't. I thought the fear meant that I was small and weak and a coward. No, it just meant that my body-mind was preparing itself for action. I'd added all of that shame to it. My father could have told me this, and it would have saved me decades of life. And this is one of the reasons why I have often said that I would burn in hell before I would walk away from my children. My children will get every lesson that I have learned so that they don't have to fight my fights again. If you can resolve this for yourself, you have a gift that is gold, but you have to honestly deal with it. If you can honestly deal with it, whatever resources you use to deal with it, you then have a story. I was trapped, making little money, having meaningless relationships, hanging out with guys that were going nowhere, or whatever your story is. And then one day, I decided to make a change. And in this, I took everything I had and I went there and I had an epiphany, a breakthrough. But whatever it is that your story is, there will be an honest version of your story that is, that passes the three gates, 100% passes the three gates, but is honest, that will tell the right person, Daniel is the person I have been looking for. It does not have to be perfect. He simply has to understand the same challenges I've had, and he found an answer. Okay? And you then, to the degree that you have honestly dealt with this, and I see something in your face right now that I have not seen before. I see a strength in your face right now that strikes me as being from the other world, in which you were not given those negative things. The person you are right now, I'd kind of like to hang out with that guy. I'd trust that guy if we were walking down the street together. I know that he'd be watching my six. Okay? That's different from the way you usually are. That guy right there, that's a leader. That's somebody
Still,
that people will
still
follow.
I'm full of fear. I'm still full of fear.
That's okay. I don't want you will be afraid until you have the clarity to take the action that the fear is trying to get you to take, to prepare yourself. Fear is a message. You only feel the fear when you're not taking appropriate action. That fear, which is a real thing, it just says you have not been taking appropriate action. So what is the appropriate action? You get to decide that. But when you take that appropriate action, first of all, you will go into flow states. So in the moment, there is no fear. But you can also get that from sex. You go into flow state, you're not feeling your fear, but it doesn't get you anywhere unless it's combined with love, and that sex and love are combined with a sense of together we can build something. See, the man who wants to create that business, that's a man who could attract a good woman. A woman who wants to go somewhere and she's looking at you and saying, "Where are you going? If I'm with you, where are we going? We're building a business." Okay. There is a woman out there who would give anything to find a man who wants to do that, because that's similar to her dream. See what I'm saying? And now you've got the potential of a mastermind. Before you find that woman, you've got to be clear within yourself, because a lioness wants a lion. Simple as that. Don't
Yeah,
pretend.
I mean, you're expecting this now, but when there's a nice dream, the woman is not that important anymore. I mean, I have my
Right.
dream to marry. I'm married to my dream now, and that's a great feeling.
It is. It's a wonderful feeling. It's the exact same thing I would tell my daughter. It's the exact same thing I would tell a woman. Don't worry about getting a man. Worry about being the person that you need to be vibrating at the same intensity as the kind of man that you want. You vibrate at that intensity. If you build that business, trust me, within a year, you'll meet the woman. She'll appear like out of nowhere.
And,
She's
and
been there the whole time.
it gives me a completely different perspective. It's not like I have to build a business plan and make all those projections. It's like, how do I care about this partner, which is my dream? Like, my dream is like a partner. I have to care for it.
Okay,
It
remember,
changes the whole game. It
okay,
changes
you
the
do
whole
need a
game.
business plan, but more than a
Yeah,
business plan, you need clarity on what you want, which is to be happy. And one of the things that will
yeah,
make you happy is if you're making money doing something you love contributing. Okay, this
yeah,
is a
get it.
particular way to do that. So remember, it's the what. The why is so you can feel like a full human being and attract a relationship with a sexy woman who is going someplace and would not settle for less than a man who is going someplace. That I give thanks to my bullies for making me the man I am, because if I weren't the man I am, I would not be able to be a partner with Tananarive. That everything I went through, that I dealt with, made me the person who was capable of being her partner. Okay? So if you will be honest and you just assume that you have lied a lot about who you were and why you were up until now, if you make a commitment that you're going to pass the three gates, that you're going to be scathingly honest because you believe, I can't do this yet. I don't know how to do this, but I'll learn. As long as you believe that within you there is a man who can do it, and right now at this moment I see that man, you will lose that clarity. If you know you will lose that clarity, then you can ask the next question. What do I need to do every day to reconnect with that? And so it's like when I talk about what you do for the first hour, or the first 15 minutes, for God's sake, the first 5 minutes, you wake up and you connect to your why and your what before you ever start getting into your how. What is it I
Yeah,
want? I want to be happy. What makes me happy? Helping people, making money, doing something that I love. How can I do that? Building this business. So you go from, and you feel it. So you have your what and you have your why. Now and only now do you put together your list of what you need to do today. What three things can you do every day to move you towards your what? If you do that, if you will think that way, and you'll bring your results to us, we will coach you and we'll help you. Because why? Because you're trying to make the world a better place at a time when the world needs all the people we can find who are willing to try to make the world a better place. Because helping you helps us. Tanari, if you
I'm
got
just
something.
kidding. I added myself. It might be fun, Daniel, and actually all of you, which is why I jumped in here to write your perfect day a year from now. From the minute you wake up in the morning until you go to bed, what do you want your perfect day to look like? Because that helps you know what your outcome is. This
Yeah,
is what
yeah.
I'm
That is a
aiming.
perfect exercise. T, that's the
Yeah,
smartest thing
and it's
anybody has
fun.
said today. If you, no, it's true. Even if I would suggest that you 6 months from today, you're going to have your business. 6 months is time to build a basic business, have it going. Not so you set a time frame. 6 months that gives you
Now you
urgency.
scare me with pressure. Ooh,
Okay.
okay.
So if you wanted to say 6 months in a year really sounds better to you, you can trust your instinct on that. That's okay. I say things, but remember, I'm telling you vitamins. You have to create the prescription. Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
let's say it's a year. Okay. Once again, in honor of his being smart, it's a year. A year from today, what do you want your perfect day to look like? And that means physically, emotionally, mentally, financially. Okay.
Mhm.
You
Yeah,
want
yeah.
this, and then all you have to do is what's halfway to that, and then what's halfway to that, and then you go, you break it down until you see this is what I can do today to move that forward. Then all you have to do is keep checking in with us every week and say that you did it or you didn't. Make sure to write down your journey because somewhere in your journey, one of these obstacles will end up being your marketing hook. One of your obstacles will be your marketing hook. The obstacle becomes the offering. We understand each other?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
obstacles, the obstacles are like a gymnasium to make you strong enough to have your victory. You're not strong enough right now, but you will be. See what I'm saying?
And then it
If you
becomes,
handle it.
yeah, then it's the epiphany.
That's right. So I
Yeah.
think that this is great, Daniel. We're going to move on to see who's next, but thank you for sharing. This is
Thank you
excellent.
so much.
This is by far this is your best share ever. All right. That was fantastic. Let's see. Who has not spoken? Che. Oh, Lisa.
Hi there. Give me a second. Let me see if I can go to video. Start video. There we go. That should
We,
work.
that's fantastic. That's what I want. I love to.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, I love to actually be able to see you guys. So, Lisa, how are you today, sweetheart?
I'm doing okay. I was going to share something else last week and we kind of ran out of time. And then you mentioned something earlier that I was like, well, that flows right into it too. I've been having some physical issues and um, back in the end of February, I ended up taking Plan B for the first time and thought I had a really bad reaction to it. Cycle was horrific, thought I might need medical attention, blah, blah, blah. Finally ended. Then it started back up and 23 days straight of stupid, bleeding. I went to my friend's shop who's got a crystal shop and metaphysical things, and I was looking for some help from her. And it turned out to be an expo day where she just has other vendors and healers and readers there. And I met someone there who does biofield tuning, and I ended up getting a session with her. And my normal everyday level of pain on a scale of 1 to 10 is usually a 12. And quite often it will spike to 25 or 30, and that's just my normal day. Even though I'm still breathing, so hey, I could drop it to 10, sometimes 8, but I get that's where I'm at. And I walked in and was looking for someone else, ended up finding this person, and I'm like, if you have time, let's do this session. And my normal, so you should use tuning forks to work both in your energy field and on you physically. And I have literally been feeling for probably, I would say 8 months, maybe a whole year, that I'm not sure how long I could still massage because I'm in so much pain. Thumbs are
Mm,
bad, elbows have been screaming, shoulders, and that's really upsetting to me because,
of
I love what
course.
I do. And this session dropped me from being a 12 because it was an average day to a 4. in 20 minutes. I'm
Well,
like, oh, you got my
fantastic.
attention. Yeah, you got my attention. This is
Yeah,
fantastic.
well, you got my attention.
Right.
So the first thing I wanted to say is the thing you probably don't need to hear, which is do more of that.
Yes.
Okay,
And,
whatever it
and
is, I'm not interested in thinking about why. It could be
right,
the
right.
spirits, it could be the spiritual world, it could be a placebo. It doesn't matter. What matters is
That's how what I felt Saturday afternoon when I did that. That was a couple weeks ago. I'm like, I got exactly what my body needed that day and had been needing for a while, only I didn't know it. So I had waited a few days and sent her an email explaining how I felt, how my pain dropped, how, all these things shifted. And she was like, that's amazing to have so much release in just one session. And I asked about, future sessions, the time, the cost, and everything. So last week, Friday, I ended up doing a 2-hour session and got really great results. I was late coming here because we were still working, and I have another session scheduled for next Friday.
can't think
But
of a better
still,
reason to miss
I'm
this.
feeling pretty good instead of
Okay, so
feeling
so
like
here's what I
pain,
like
I'm feeling
here's what I'd like you
achy.
to do.
Mhm.
I would like you to ask her to teach you how to do it for yourself.
I actually looked it up. There are 4 classes and they're out of my budget right now, but I got the beginner's kit and the book. So I've been playing on my own and I've been watching what she does while she's working on me. So I have been doing stuff a little bit on and she knows that. Um, and Tom, I'll answer that message as soon as I'm done talking. No problem. She works remotely, but it was so because you were talking about like Orion was sharing the great results that she's had. And then we ran out of time last week. And then you mentioned something earlier today about frequency. And I'm like, wait, yes, this is perfect. This is exactly what, fell into my lap and has been exactly what I needed
So
right
what you
now.
have to understand about me is that one side of my brain is a scientist and the other side of my brain is a shaman. So
Okay.
you're speaking my language. I like to acknowledge the spiritual realm, but ground things in psychology, physics, and physiology. What you are saying is that you found something that works. That's all that matters
Yes.
when it comes to that. So do more of that. See if you can learn how to do it for yourself.
Oh,
But
I want
if you
to.
find that doing it for yourself is not as effective as doing it with somebody else, then you do that. But here's another thing. You enjoy giving relief. Does
Hmm.
this not open the possibility of another modality of massage?
Absolutely.
There you go.
Absolutely. Because
Now you're making money doing something you love and believe in, helping the world. There's no better money. That's the
which is
best money.
why I said those classes are out of my budget right now. So I'm working on that. It's like I looked into it. I'm like, would love to do so. Yeah, I do Reiki, massage therapist, all these things. And to find this, I'm like, yep, fell right into my lap. And it just felt so much different, to actually
Well,
feel like I'm
I'm
achy
delighted for you.
versus always in pain.
I'm absolutely delighted for you. That is wonderful, Lisa.
This month,
Wonderful.
I don't have a lot of experience with Reiki. I thought that was what you were talking about. I stepped away and came back. I just wanted to tell you my story about my experience with this.
okay.
Once I was on book tour, and I tend to carry bags that are too heavy. And I've been
Mm-hmm.
carrying this bag all day, and I ended up with this really irritating soreness, like right here at my shoulder blade. And it was painful. I would say it was like at a 4 by the end of for me, that's a lot of pain. So by the end of the day, it was very distracting. And a guy came up to me at an expo, a complete stranger. I complained to him about my shoulder pain, and he said, "Do you want me to cure that for you without touching you?" And I was like, "Yeah, dude, go. Bye. Be gone." All right. But he said, no. It's this thing called Reiki. I had never heard of it. Never
Okay.
heard of it. I'm like, okay, if it'll make you go away. I'm thinking, if it'll make you go away, have at it. So he stood behind me like this. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at him going, whoa, my God, security. But I felt, but I felt this heat start to radiate
Yeah.
in the spot. And it was, after he finished, it was gone.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Yeah.
all I had to say. I was like, I'm a believer.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
it.
The
and
only
this had some Reiki in it because she's a Reiki master as well, so was I. But this was biofield tuning, and we're using works for the healing.
So
Mhm.
here's what I'm saying. Different modalities
Yeah.
are not addressing totally different things within the
Mm-mm.
human body mind. They're addressing the same phenomenon from different directions. So you could include yoga and tai chi and
Right.
qigong and any number of different things. It's, how are they addressing it? How are they getting into this thing? The only thing that is for sure is that the human body mind is more complex and expansive than we currently can prove scientifically. We don't know what the limits are. So you are a pioneer. You can, in terms of what you're talking about, trust your subjective reactions. Keep doing this. Come, and please, join the life writing site and share your journey, because there are people looking for answers, and you may not have an answer for them, but just the fact that you found an answer can be inspiring to somebody who's in chronic pain. Believe maybe I will try again. Maybe I'll go to an expo where there are 100 different modalities and I'll see what my instincts is, something like that. But your journey, you've just been given an indication of something that could be important in your life and in the lives of others. Good for you.
Thank you. And I'll say it's been really nice to feel for the last couple weeks that I'm achy. I'm at, a 4 to me is a great day. I have not felt like I don't know how long I'll be able to do this. Instead, I'm feeling good. I can keep going. And that's a wonderful
Yeah,
way.
so you might ask yourself, okay, so in my first hour of the day, which belongs to me, I'm going to do 20 minutes of as close to what I saw them doing as I can do. How much relief does that give? You might find if I do 20 minutes of this every morning, I get to function all day long. And
Right.
I would suggest adding some of the strictly physiological things like the joint mobility drills, which I do every single morning, which is separate from, like, let's say yoga. I will do joint mobility and yoga every day, which are what I need for my body to function the way I want to and to accept exercise and recover from it the way that I want it to, let alone physical skills like martial arts. So you're designing your daily ritual. You're writing your prescription. Every day you do this. Every week you do this. And it simply becomes your life. And good for you, Lisa. Thank you for sharing.
Absolutely. Thank you for everything.
You betcha. All right. See, this is so much fun. I mean, it really is. Who else has got who's got their hand up? Who can I mess with next? Nikki Roos. Nikki?
My hand
Hey
was
there.
absolutely not up.
I know. This,
Okay,
this this is where I'm being a brat.
got it. Oh, and it's pronounced Rouse, like house, but with an R.
Okay, Nikki Rouse. So, Nikki Rouse, how is your life?
It's a lot happening right now and at one time, but I'm still choosing me. I'm still choosing um to set my time aside for me. So
How often do you get that time?
at least once a day, as long as I honor it,
Okay,
at
may I
least.
make a respectful suggestion that at the top of every hour you take 60 seconds and just breathe. That's your time. It's only, like, that's maximum 15 minutes a day. You deserve 15 minutes a day. But what I'm saying is that if you will do deep, slow, diaphragmatic breathing, for just 60 seconds, set a watch, set an alarm for 60 seconds. And while you're doing that, you might think about what you're grateful for. You might just see yourself in the center of the storm. There is strife, but you have peace because you've taken this time for yourself. That you've noticed that if you can take time for yourself, it allows you to kind of, and what you're looking for is that to know the difference between when your armor is up and when you relax. Once you find that and you center, maybe you want to get a picture of yourself as a little girl and you want to think about the journey of life that you've been on and all that you've overcome, and that you still love her beyond all words, or a person that you love, or a spiritual teacher, or a flower, something that you love. And just for 60 seconds, you're breathing in a place of peace. If you will do that every hour, you are literally reprogramming your nervous system about how to deal with stress. This is both spirit and science. Okay? And so I don't know what your issues are. I don't need to know. What I know is that I believe with all my heart that you have the ability to deal with them. But we lose touch with our power. So just know that the world needs your power. And that little girl you were needs your power to protect her so she can dance and have fun. Maybe what you want to do is for 60, every 3 hours you put on a song that you like and you dance for 3 minutes. I mean, just that, breaking that up. It actually increases your efficiency and effectiveness. It's called a Pomodoro. That every you work for 25 minutes, you take 5 minutes off. You work for 50 minutes, you take 10 minutes off. And this timer that I have right here is my Pomodoro timer. And you can use egg timers, and you set it for a certain period of time. So that means that even if you're interested in working, even if it's just about working, you need to take programmed breaks. So whether it's about taking care of yourself or doing a better job for somebody else, there's every reason in the world to every hour breathe, celebrate, dance. Remember that you are the center of the circle. There's all these things going on, and isn't it interesting? But you have the right and the responsibility to be at peace. Because if you can take care of your business and stay at peace, you are communicating that same thing to people watching you. Oh, is it possible for me to actually do my work and still be happy? Can I possibly give myself away to the world and still keep myself? Show them the way. Show them. Okay? There you go. See, you just breathed. Okay. Another thing that's very interesting is that once you learn the difference between your armor and your softness, you will begin to select people who increase the safety in your life such that you can be soft more often. When you are around people who need to armor up, those are not people you want to just hang around with. They might be business associates or something, but what you want is the people of your tribe. When you're with your tribe, you can be in condition yellow or condition white. That we don't even feel the tension until we specifically feel that release. It is the best thing you can do, not just for your health, but for peak performance. Every time a runner takes a step, they have to tense the muscles in that leg. But then, in order to take another step, they have to relax the muscles in that leg so that it can be tensed again. So when we're tense all the time, we literally don't have access to our strength. That's fear. Fear has to be balanced with love, faith, trust. The door to those things is gratitude. If you will just take 60 seconds and you breathe and you be grateful for the fact that that breath is free. I've got 60 seconds to breathe. Gift yourself that. I promise that it'll make a difference.
I needed that. Thank you.
You're incredibly welcome. And, come back anytime. We're here every Friday. This is my way of connecting with the same things that I'm saying to you. You think I always remember this stuff? No, I don't. Life numbs you to your own softness. Okay? All right, Amelia Phillips.
Hello, how are you today?
Hello, I'm doing great. How are you?
Uh, getting there.
So, what can I do for you today?
Well, first I wanted to say thank you because I finally went and saw Sinners a couple of weeks after I sat through the workshop because I think I would not have, where you guys were discussing it. And I'm glad that I did that because I'm not sure I
Mhm.
would have stayed for the whole movie if I had not listened to all the reviews. And so it's like, okay, that's what they were talking about. But yeah, I realized it had been a very long time since I had gone to a horror movie. But this one was so totally different. So,
Yeah, I would say that a horror movie is defined by the dominant emotion that they want to produce. They clearly wanted to produce the emotion of fear at certain points. But what it was really about, it was very philosophical about life and about black life in America. It was, they talked about building a place for us. That movie was for us. Others were welcome to come to the party as guests, but that movie was for us. And I think that Ryan Coogler, I would love to shake his hand for that. So, can you tell me one thing that you saw or experienced in that movie that moved you?
The whole thing about being, the preacher's son. Because my grandfather was a preacher, and so of course my dad, so we were raised on the Bible, and so that whole thing, yeah, that struck me, just the whole that he never let go of the guitar, that piece of the guitar, and that it only was like a day and a half or something, the whole movie, but it was just very, very interesting. And then
Yeah,
the ending, I'm glad I sat through the credits because otherwise you wouldn't see what actually happens.
that's right. That's right.
That was like, oh wow. That was really cool.
That's wonderful. Now, are you a writer?
Yes, I am.
Fantastic. So I walked out of Sinners a little bit depressed because I thought to myself, I could not have written that. But in thinking about it afterward, this matter of, well, how did he access that truth within himself, have the courage to bring it out, have the skill to express it, create the connections in Hollywood to be able to get the resources to make it. In other words, if you break it down, there are lessons for other creative people. So your task is to find some truth that touches your heart. It's very much the same as what I was saying to Daniel. The obstacle that you can overcome, that you can be motivated to overcome. I want to be better. I want to stop being trivial in my work. I want to stop being afraid to send it out, or whatever it is that the obstacle is. If you grow, you learn something about the human condition that you can then put into your work, that then becomes an offering to the audience. That he made an offering to the audience. Tananarive made an offering with the reformatory. See that there was real stuff there. But the trick is that everyone has things that are that real in their lives and in their ancestral line. Everybody. We don't often have the courage and the internal permission to tap into it, to be willing to say, I'm going to show this truth. I'm not going to hide from this. So I do not ask you to answer this to me, but you want to answer to yourself. What is the lie you've been telling yourself that you can start telling the truth about? That would be the biggest lie, the biggest humiliation, the biggest embarrassment. Like I said, I do not want to hear it. You write the answer to that. Write it in your journal. I think that one way to phrase that is, let's see. I feared this would make people think blank about me, is one way you could put that. Answer the question. What is it? Because that thing that you put in your private journal, you will then say, how can I put this into a story in a way that benefits the world? I'm not going to ask I'm not going to ask the reader to handle my pain. I'm going to handle my pain by telling the truth and believing that telling the truth moves me beyond it. And then know that there are a million other people who've dealt with the same issue in one way or another, who have been afraid to move forward. And if you can do it, you're giving them faith that they can do it. I had to look directly at my fear just yesterday, talking to my son about something he's afraid of. And I could say to him, at least you weren't driving down the street crying because you were afraid to go in that school and spar. That him knowing that his father dealt with that and got through it gives him the strength. This is the power in your work. The skills, we can give you the skills, but you have to find the power. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes. I mean,
Okay.
yeah, my some of the stuff I'm writing right now, my therapist is like, okay, when the emotions come up, keep writing until you need to go take a walk.
There you go. Fantastic. So that therapist is good. I'm glad that you have that support structure. I really believe in therapy. No question about it. I believe in having friends you can tell the truth to. I believe in therapy. I believe in getting any alliance you need to become the person that has escaped suffering, embraced joy, and can be of service to the world. This is your dharma, to find some way to turn your truth into art, your pain into contribution. Do that, and you've changed the world. And probably made some money in the process too, which ain't bad. I am very in favor of making money. Okay, thank you very much, Amelia.
Thank you.
Okay, so we've come to the end of today's show. I would like very much for you guys to take yourselves off mute and say hello to each other and goodbye to each other and wish each other a happy weekend.
Thanks for a great session.
Hello, goodbye. Have a great
Always good to
weekend.
see everybody. See you all again next week.
Weekend.
Fantastic.
Good to see you all.
Even
Remember
nice.
we
I'll play with my
remember
tuning
we do
fork.
this every Friday at noon Pacific. You just go to tell your friends, thefiredance.com. We'll get you here. We love to see you. We hope that today has been good. Today has been good. Some really interesting stuff came out today. I love that shit. And I'd like to, close this by saying that the divinity within me salutes and acknowledges the divinity within each and every one of you. Namaste. Join us
Namaste.
over on liferight.com. Totally free.
Namaste.
Always will be. Take care, people.
Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye.